Welcome to episode 10 of my chronic migraine life. I'm Donna. If you're just joining me for the first time, I try to explain as best I can what my life has been like with chronic migraines at the height of my illness and now that it's sort of plateauing, what my experience is like to hopefully help anyone out there that's suffering or knows or loves someone who is suffering. Today I want to talk about the symptoms that come, the foreshadowing, as it were, of a migraine attack. Now, it varies for everyone like any other personality trait, and no two people are alike. Even with myself, over the years, the signs I was going to be in severe pain or signs that I've been in severe pain have been completely different. And sometimes I don't even know if the pain or the symptom I'm experiencing is related to a migraine attack until I get the migraine attack. And so it's sort of trial and error. As a footnote, I'd like to say that most everything that happens to me that I can't explain, such as I didn't break my leg so I know my leg is hurting, has to do with my chronic migraines. The brain is the most important and most complex organ in our bodies, and it controls everything. And so my chronic migraine brain functions very differently than someone else that does not have this disease. And so all of my sights, sounds, senses, everything is affected by that. I want to start off by first asking if anyone has ever had an imaginary friend. If you did, I'm sure it was during your childhood. I don't remember having a childhood imaginary friend. My mother often tells the story that at some point in my very early years, I used to scream up the stairs in my house for David to come down and play with me. I don't remember David. My mother said that she always would listen just in case she heard footsteps because she would have had a heart attack right on the spot. She didn't. So I don't know if David was a figment of her imagination or mine, but I'm a very creative person, so maybe I was hoping I would have an imaginary friend. My wish came true about 5 years ago in the middle of the night during a very severe migraine attack. When I had very severe migraine attacks, pain made it impossible to sleep. But sleep is really what you needed to break the pain cycle. So it was a very vicious cycle, and at my wit's end one night in pain, sitting in the dark and laying down in my bed in the dark, praying for the pain to go away and trying desperately to sleep, I began hallucinating. Now, I didn't know I was hallucinating at the time, but out of the corner of my eye, my bed had a windowsill to the left of it. At the very, very top, I saw a tarantula-sized spider, and it began to crawl towards me, and I was panicked about that, but literally so tired from not sleeping and from the pain that I couldn't move. And I thought, God, it's going to bite me. I was terrified. Then it just disappeared right before it got to my face, vanished into thin air. I started to see this spider more and more often, always at night, always in the dark. One time I actually leapt from my bed, threw all the lights on, scrambling. I was determined to kill this fucker. I thought maybe it fell into my bed. I ripped the sheets off. I looked like a crazy person. I guess I was a crazy person from the pain and the drugs I was taking. But there was no spider. The last time I saw this spider, I must have saw him over a period of 2 or 3 years for every few weeks. It was hanging from the ceiling above me, getting closer and closer to my face. I was so tired. I didn't even have the strength to deal with it. I'm pretty sure I said it out loud. Just let it bite me, let it eat me, let it maul me to death. I don't care anymore. And then I fell asleep. Of course, the spider never bit me, never attacked me because he was never there. I realized that when I had gotten up in the middle of the night and tore my room apart looking for him. The size of the spider that I saw couldn't have disappeared that fast. It was a jarring realization that my mind had created the spider. Why? I have no idea. But I was hallucinating from pain or from medication, probably both. And it was upsetting and comforting at the same time, if that makes any sense. So, symptoms. Hallucinations. A sign that you're getting a very bad migraine attack or have suffered a lot of pain in the last few days, because pain is trauma, and our brains have an amazing ability to heal themselves, but how they work that out is sometimes odd. I've never hallucinated as a conscious, waking, walking person, even though I've been in desperate pain. I don't know what it was about nighttime that did it to me. But even so, if I see something that seems strange, lights flashing or sounds that sound weird or things I can't explain, if someone else is with me, I always say, do you see that? Do you hear that? I always want to make sure that what's happening is real and that it's not my chronic migraine brain sending out signals. Um, a lot of times, things that I now know are attributed to my chronic migraine brain, I didn't know at first were related to it because I couldn't figure out. It was a new thing that never happened to me before. Some things fade away after a certain amount of time. I have no idea why. Sometimes it only happens once. But unless I can attribute it to a fall or something that actually happened, I associate it with my chronic migraine brain just with experience. I've been dealing with my illness for almost 15 years, and it's just something you learn to know. You get to know your body very, very well, and obviously everyone knows themselves better than anybody else, but when you're ill, you get a sort of a tune, a very sharp knowledge. I pay attention to every little thing that I do to my body and that it does back to me to see if the conversation is headed towards pain. I want to be proactive. I want to understand because maybe I'm doing something that's affecting me and causing me pain and I'm not even aware of it. So I'm always on the lookout for what's happening. One of the earliest symptoms I can attribute to pre-migraine attack is severe tooth pain. Really, really bad. Like so bad that I was at work and called my mother and asked the number for the dentist. I was convinced I needed a root canal. Well, by the time the appointment came, I no longer had tooth pain, but I had had a severe migraine attack in the interim, and that took the tooth pain away. Okay. I have had my hands turn purple and terrible, terrible pins and needles. I know for a fact it has partly to do with a medication I was taking, a daily preventative medication, but also from pain. I mean, they would turn so purple, the palms of my hands. The only solution to that feeling, it was akin to neuropathy diabetics get, that terrible, terrible pins and needles, it was to run my hands onto ice cold water, ice cold till I couldn't take it anymore. It's very strange. A lot of people experience nausea. I don't usually. Some people I've heard can't stop going to the bathroom. Their stomach gets attacked. It's happened to me a few times. I used to get this strange pain, really pain. It was numbing in the middle of my right thigh, a very specific spot, just totally numb. And, you know, I always thought that when you didn't feel anything, when you were numb, you didn't feel anything, but it was a very strange sensation, and it would happen to me a lot of the time. Of course, I told my neurologist, and she's like, Donna, of course, she had never heard of that before, but I knew for a fact because that was either a sign that it was going to pour rain or that I was getting a severe migraine attack. Something about the nerve endings in my right thigh, that very specific chunk. That was like my most recent sign for a really long time. People have auras in their eyes. They see shadows, or I guess it looks like you're having a visual hallucination, but I've never experienced that. I've heard that they say Van Gogh had terrible migraines, and that's why he painted so vividly, Starry Night specifically. Also, maybe why he had cut off his ear. People have auditory hallucinations. I might have experienced that once or twice, but it doesn't normally affect my ears. It's more sights and smells. But again, not hallucinations for me, just very heightened. Heightened, like I've never been pregnant, but people say that your senses are heightened. You smell things that make you sick all of a sudden. I feel like I can see a flashing light a mile away, and I can hear a fire truck 50 miles away, or smell smoke before you hear the fire engines. Like, I've actually had that experience. I've been in the car, and do you smell smoke? And of course, there was no smoke around me, but all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, fire trucks go blazing by. Very, very strange. Your brain is just struggling so hard and so heightened to try to solve all the problems, it doesn't know what it's going to do. I've had parts of my body go numb, like I said, my thigh most predominantly, but it's also a tingling, an extra sensation. You get very thirsty. My mother always tells me I have diabetes. My mother has a lot of unhelpful suggestions. I don't have diabetes, thank God. You get very thirsty. You can crave fattening foods, salt in particular, which is interesting because I always try to avoid salt, as everyone should, but particularly because it dehydrates you, and dehydration can trigger a migraine attack. but you can crave things. It's sort of like a PMS craving. You can't stop it. You need to eat whatever it is that you're craving, and sometimes that's a sign. Sometimes not sleeping is a sign. What else has happened to me? So very many things. The hands were probably what happened to me the longest. But no matter the case, the signs that you're getting an attack is your short window of opportunity to act, to do whatever it is you need to do. Sleep, take a pill, lay down, drink a lot of water, eat properly. Things that you need to really take care of yourself. So while my spider may have never been named, I feel like he was a he. I don't know if he really was or not, of course. I feel like I should name him at some point. I do miss him because it was sort of a confirmation that I was in this with somebody. And as anyone with chronic migraines knows, or any chronic illness, it can be very isolating. And so I haven't seen my spider sat down beside me in a long time, but I actually missed the little bugger. Not that I'm in a hurry to see him anytime soon. The other reason I was so afraid of the spiders, just not because I don't be crawled on, is there's a tingling nerve sensation. Migraines affect your nerve endings, and so I always felt like things were crawling on me. I had this experience a lot. Also, when I withdrew from some of my preventative medications, it feels like something is crawling. You want to just pull your skin right off. I know drug addicts and things like that's what it makes me think of, but I guess a drug is a drug, whether it's prescribed or not, right? And just, I felt like things were crawling on me all the time. Not necessarily when I was getting a migraine attack, but just in my regular life. Like, just so very sensitive to touch. I very rarely wore earrings for a long time, just because even the simplest, smallest earring, the weight, my nerve endings just became alive. Like, I always say that my hair hurts, and now hair is a dead thing. It doesn't have feelings or nerve endings. But the nerve endings in my head, my scalp was so on edge that my hair can actually hurt. And that's a strange thing to do, to feel, because you don't have any recourse you can take. So that's just it. If you're new to your chronic migraine illness or any of the headache disorder, I say just pay attention to everything that you feel, whether you can explain it or not, whether you can attribute it definitively to an attack or not. Keep a migraine diary, very detailed, time, places, what you were doing, what you did that day, what you ate, what you felt, because that's really the only way. Patterns. You have to attack it like a research scientist, something that I am, and so that kind of worked in my favor. But it takes a long time for patterns to emerge, and even if it only happened once, maybe it's just something for you. Maybe it is a pattern for you. So no one can ever take that from you. I don't want you to ever think that just because you're the only person experiencing it, that it's not real, that it's not valid. You know you better than anyone else. And the only way you can be proactive in your healthcare journey and in your life is to be true to what you know to be true for you. So with that, I hope you have a very migraine-free day, and no one else is seeing any spiders today.